Hey friends, it's Gavin Townsend here with Keeping It Real Estate, your local real estate guide and trusted advocate for all things real estate here in the Globe region. And I'm here with Nici Johnson this morning.
You
Hi,
call me
Nici.
Nici. I like that one too. I
haven't had all my water or coffee yet this morning.
You're just so excited. You're thinking faster than you're able to speak right now.
Which is typically the case.
And I get the excitement coming. I'm ready. Let's get into it.
Thanks, Nici. So a big thing, what we're going to tackle today is a big question that I get all the time, and from homeowners, which is buying and selling real estate, homes at the same time. And should I sell first or should I buy first?
Or can it be done at the same time? Can you be doing the same process at one time?
And that's a key question, Nici, that we're going to unpack a little bit. It's a nuanced thing that's really specific to each individual and their transaction, but it's really a financial thing. It's a classic chicken or egg dilemma, really.
There you go.
Okay, but I've got some clear processes to help you kind of navigate that confidently. And again, it's always a case-by-case scenario, so folks remember it's critically important that you're working with an experienced real estate professional if you're going to attempt to do this. It's not impossible. It happens all the time. I'm in the midst of several clients working through these details of multiple transactions at once, but you want to have a clear plan. So that's really key.
Okay. So before you jump into this, I have just a quick question. I don't even know if this will help lead into anything we're about to talk about. But as a realtor right now, are you seeing more stuff move on the seller's side as opposed to on the buyer's side, or are you seeing it equal out 100%?
It's a great question. So in the Glow region, and again, it can be different, by the time you're listening to this, or it changes day to day, and it depends on which market we're in. But in the Glow region, I would say that things are balancing a little bit.
Okay.
We are not in that buyer's market that you're seeing necessarily throughout the rest of the nation, big headlines. I wouldn't say we're quite there. As I've said for the last few weeks, I really feel that we're in a property by property market. So it really depends on how desirable that property is once it hits the market, and if there's competition around that for buyers. So I'm seeing transactions moving. I'm seeing days on the market lengthen, but these are all signals to a more healthy market for both buyer and seller. And so don't be alarmed, folks out here in the Glow region, about, well, I'm seeing everywhere it's a buyer's market. Not necessarily, and it changes by the day. It's going to depend on what's going on with interest rates and a lot of things. But right now I'm seeing that's sort of balancing and equaling out. But if you've got a hot property that a lot of people might be interested in, sellers, it sells usually by the delayed negotiation period still. And maybe that's not the case elsewhere. So buyers, you still have competition.
All right.
And it just depends. Now, if you're going for the house that's maybe more of a fixer-upper, or it doesn't have all the activity, maybe it's not in a desirable location, or maybe it's beyond cosmetic updates, maybe buyers, you do have an opportunity on that to make a deal and have more negotiating power.
Okay.
So it just really depends. That's why I say property by property.
Yeah. Well, I'm hearing that loud and clear. Okay.
It really depends. So, we want to understand what, the stakes are in buying and selling at the same time and what the context of this is. It's not just about timing. It's about your finances, okay, and your peace of mind and your lifestyle. So a lot of times when folks come to me, they're like, well, I'm ready for my next house. Maybe they are downsizing, maybe they're upsizing, maybe they need to be closer to work. There's all these reasons why somebody who is already an existing homeowner wants to buy their new home. But the number one question is, did you speak to a mortgage consultant yet? Or are you able to do this with cash in the bank and not contingent upon the sale of your existing home?
Okay.
Number one. That's why it's emotional. Yes, it's a lifestyle thing. And yeah, we can probably sell your house tomorrow, but I don't want to leave you homeless.
That's the catch-22. Yeah.
You got it. That's the chicken and the egg, right? So that's why it's number one. What are we dealing with? What is the financial prognosis here of what we need to do? Because if you are, in fact, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, contingent upon the sale of your existing home, we need to understand at what level, what's that going to look like, because that means your house that you're in has to sell before you can actually move forward with the purchase.
Right.
So That's why a lot of people are like, well, how do I do this then? And if the answer to that is yes, I do have to sell my existing home and use the proceeds from it to be able to purchase and close on the next property. There's a couple of things that come into play with that. Our market still is very competitive. It's unpredictable. Things are coming and going, as I just mentioned. It's emotionally charged. And that's why you've got to work with an experienced agent. But it could be that, I don't want to put my house on the market until I really am under contract on my next one. I understand that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, remember then, seller, you are then submitting an offer on a house that maybe you want to purchase, but you are also submitting it as a contingent offer, contingent on the sales of your property that is not yet listed, not yet sold. So it might not be the strongest offer in the pack if there are multiple offers on a home. You might have your competing offer on that same home that you want to purchase, somebody that is not contingent upon the sale of their property.
And odds are,
but you are
probably.
Odds are, prices. It's always about the price and the terms and conditions. But that's kind of what we're talking about. So let's talk about what tends to work best and why. And again, I can't underscore this enough. It's always a case by case scenario. So I'm going to give an outline of how this might work generically, but we would always need to sit down and really talk about what works uniquely for that seller that's also a buyer at the same time.
Okay. So I know I'm going back for just a quick second because you had mentioned,
Perfect.
when you're selling a house, say you sell the house before you're able to find somewhere to live, you're potentially homeless for the moment.
Sure.
So say you are in this process where you are a seller and you are a buyer at the same time. If you're selling a home, do you have to be out of there in a shorter amount of time than you would be buying a home to be able to get into a home? Because I know it takes like a couple months before you can get into a home, but when you're selling it, do you get that couple months to be out of it?
It just depends on how those contracts are written.
Okay.
What have you offered? Great question.
Yeah.
And there's no clear-cut answer to that, Nici. It's all about what that contract is. What did you offer? What did you put in your offer of your purchase? And what is in the offer of the offer you accepted on your existing home?
Okay.
So we can say generically that, it's about 60 to 90 days to close, and you're coordinating that effort. And there's a lot of tips and tricks that, let's say, for example, if you go the route of putting your house on the market first, which is what I'm going to unpack a little bit, you could put into that listing that you are, as the seller, contingent, like a reverse contingency, that you're making it clear to the public that you still need to find a place to live.
And you can do that as a seller.
You can do that. You can say, hey, my house is for sale, but understand that I need to find suitable housing to be able to close this deal. That means I need to find the next place where I'm going to live if I don't have a place to land. And you will have some buyers that are totally okay with that, but it really comes down to their financing issue. Your buyer. Do they have, if they're borrowing the money to purchase your home and they've gone through the mortgage application, they have an interest rate lock that is due to expire.
That's true.
So people cannot. They might say, I'd love to wait 6 months for you. But the reality is that it comes down to the financing on your purchaser's end. And whether or not, if they're not a cash buyer, then they're beholden to their bank. And even if they are a cash buyer, not everybody wants to wait forever for you.
No, makes sense. Okay.
So that all has to be spelt out as much as one can on the onset of the offers being accepted. Mm-hmm. And as you've probably heard me say on the show previously, those dates that we put on those contracts, we calculate that out the best to our ability. But as we know, it takes about 14 people to close a real estate transaction. We have holidays, we have all these things. And so those target dates are likely to get moved. And we all just continue to be great communicators and be as flexible as possible.
And patient.
That's right. Super patient, flexible and iterative is as much as we can, because there's so many things that are working. There's so many moving pieces that make a transaction when there are contingencies upon one another to make something close. Wow. Right?
Okay.
It can be as clear as mud, right?
I mean, I never heard that before, but I like it. I like that.
So here's the big plan. Here are the goals, but it's going to be a step-by-step process and a daily update and weekly communications as to how we get this done. Okay. And do we get it done? We get it done all the time. But I always prepare my folks that are buying and selling at the same time that this is a roller coaster. Put your seatbelt on. And I do not have all the answers. No one does today on how this is going to go, but here's from my experience what we can forecast, what we might expect. But even when we think we've gone through every scenario possible, something new will present itself.
Yeah, wow.
So you just got to be ready for that.
I guess so.
Right? So you're doubling down when you're a buyer and you're a seller. And
Your
you
job
guys
is
know-
exhausting to me. My goodness.
It's a lot.
Wow, yeah.
It's a
okay.
lot. So you guys hear me say all the time, buyers have to think like sellers.
Yeah.
Sellers have to think like buyers. This is the uber experience of that.
Yeah.
That when one is buying and selling at the same time, you're looking at the transaction from this hat as a seller, but then you got to take it off and do it as the buyer at the same time. And if there are multiple transactions involved, let's say you are under contract on your next purchase and you are under contract on the sale of your home, we are coordinating all those things at the same time.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a lot.
So anyway, let's get into a couple scenarios that might work. So
Okay.
most home buyers are sitting on serious equity in their home. If they've been there for a bit, on average in the nation, you've got on average about $300,000 in equity, depending on the price point in the market you're in. So that's why a lot of people like to think about selling first. Let me get my house on the market. If I am going to buy and sell at the same time, let me get my house on the market because I need that equity and I have serious equity, excuse me, and let me use that for a down payment so I am a more competitive buyer, maybe even a cash buyer, depending on the price point of the home that you're selling, to be able to get under contract on a purchase.
Okay.
So that's a best case scenario. I can tell you from experience that's not always the case. Sometimes buyers, haven't been in their home a long time. They don't have that equity to the nation's standard. And so they really are fully contingent on the sale of that property. And again, life happens, guys. Typically people were staying in their homes 5 to 10 years to develop that equity. But I've got buyers that are now sellers that maybe they've only been in their home 2 or 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And something has happened. Death, diapers, diaspora, you're having the next baby, you're doing this, you're doing that. So the house that you're in from a couple of years ago isn't suitable anymore for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so, again, we can run through all the perfect case scenarios, but at the same time, we have to be able to be flexible and iterative to the needs of the client as much as one can be.
Wow. Okay.
So the other thing you want to do is you want to avoid, if you are not a cash buyer, you want to avoid having 2 mortgages at the same time.
Yes.
Right? So holding 2 mortgages, even for a short amount of time, can really strain your finances. And that's why this is really a financial discussion. Certainly it's emotional and it's what your needs are, but we would be totally remiss if we are not putting your finances at the forefront of your eligibility to be able to execute these multiple transactions at once.
Okay.
So that's huge. So if you're selling first, it could remove some of that pressure and gives you some breathing room. If we can line up all of the building blocks there that you sell comfortably, you've got the proceeds from that, and now you're able to move on with the purchase. But the big question always remains is, where are you going?
Right.
Once you've sold that home, and remember, it's not just getting under contract. That transaction has to actually close so that the proceeds hit your bank account, so that now you're able to purchase the next one. It's not just, I'm under contract, I'm good to go. No, that your house has to close.
And that's the scary part, because so many people think once I am under contract, I've sold my house.
No, that's phase 2.
Yeah.
Now we're into the real fun part. We got to close the transaction.
I had a friend who went through that, and last minute, I was like just a couple weeks before he thought they were quote unquote closing, the buyer had backed out.
And it can happen. That's a horrible thing.
And yeah,
and we work hard not to have that happen. But again, we are dealing with human beings and things that are out of our control. So
they were moving for a job. Yes, and that's what happened. And the job got pushed back. And so they were like, well, I don't need to move to that area anymore. So unfortunately, I'm backing out. And they stayed where they were living because of a job placement. Right. But yeah, you are right.
And we could have a whole episode on loopholes like that, which we wouldn't have enough time in the world. But yes, we don't want that to happen. And no one goes into this hoping and thinking it will. But there are things that are out of our control. So we do our very best when we are accepting offers, right? That we're vetting those as much as humanly possible to try to forecast and foresee unforeseen circumstances. But again, they can happen. And once your home is already sold, if you're a seller that's buying at the same time, your offer is going to be way more appealing to that seller on the other end where you're purchasing.
Yep.
Because again, there's a couple layers here. You're either not contingent upon the sale of your existing property. Maybe you're a cash buyer, or maybe you actually can float both mortgages. You've done the math and you can figure it out and you're comfortable and you know what it takes to do that to have a stronger offer as a buyer. So maybe you are not contingent upon the sale of your home to buy, or whatever the circumstances are. We have to know that before we sign up for anything. We've got to talk to your lender in regards to that. Or maybe, just maybe, your house is on the market already, okay? It's actively listed, and you have accepted an offer. Now you are contingent upon the transfer of title of your home. In other words, it hasn't closed yet.
Okay.
So the first scenario is I'm contingent upon the sale of my property. I haven't listed it yet. I don't have any offers. But if you accept my offer on my purchase, Mr. Seller, I'll quick go list my house and get that under contract sooner than later.
Does that happen?
All the time. If your offer gets accepted. Because again, as the buyer, if you are contingent upon the sale of your property, you do not have an accepted offer on it, you might not be competitive on your purchase.
Okay.
But let's say for some reason that did happen, and it does, and I'm working with clients right now where, wow, we did that, and then we had to get their house listed in 72 hours.
Yeah.
And we did it.
Okay.
It's possible. But what might be a step further along in the process is that we've already listed your home, and now we're actively looking for your next home. And maybe we've even accepted an offer on your home. Now you're contingent upon the transfer of title. This is why this is different. Transfer of title is my house is listed. I have an accepted offer. It hasn't closed yet. So now I'm writing an offer on another home saying I am not contingent upon the sale of my home. I have sold it per se. Mm-hmm. It's under contract, but it has not closed. So I'm writing an offer to my purchase, to the seller on my purchase, saying that I am ready, willing, and able to purchase this home as soon as the sale on my existing home closes.
Okay.
And that's a step farther than I don't even have my house listed yet. Does that make sense?
It does, but it seems easier than I don't have my house listed yet.
Because you're one step further to your house closing to be able to get the proceeds from that money to close on your purchase.
Well, yeah, you're okay. Yes. Okay. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But you've also taken the risk to put your house on the market and accept an offer before you have a house.
Got it.
Got it?
But would you recommend doing that as opposed to finding a house before you list your house?
It just really depends on you.
Yeah, you're right.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Do I recommend anything and all the above? We have to be creative if we're doing this in a market. And remember, folks, the big overlying theme to this is that we're still in very low inventory.
Yeah.
Now, if we were in a fully balanced market with lots of inventory, that would be one thing. So that's what's really tough about this. So you have to think about temporary housing needs.
Yeah.
If we sell the house from underneath you, do you have the ability to go somewhere? Can you stay with family?
Right.
Can we bargain for post-occupancy at your current home? Meaning, can we go back to the buyer and say, I'm going to need to stay here for 30 days and I'll do a rent back?
Okay.
There's all these other things we can do, and that's why, folks, we really need to sit down and talk about it. But I can tell you from the current state of affairs, if you think you're going to go find a place to rent temporarily, good luck. That's probably not the most viable option in the Glow region right now.
So that's just as hard as finding.
You got it.
Oof.
So that's why we sit down and we really talk through all these things. So give me a buzz. If you're thinking about buying and selling at the same time, you can see, and I've just scratched the surface on this. It's a very detailed process. It's not difficult, but it's detailed, and it's a play-by thing. We're going to be best friends, connected at the hip for a long time, several months of working through multiple related transactions to get you home. But we will do it.
And of course, listening in, you have questions, by all means, ask us to ask her.
Absolutely.
But
give us a buzz.
Let us know.
Call me anytime, 585-344-1321. Book an appointment with me at Hunt Real Estate at 97 Main Street.
Email her.
Yes. Email at gavin.townsend@huntrealestate.com. I do this all the time. It's become a bit of my niche, if you will. It is an adventurous thing to do, but we can get it done. Buying and selling at the same time.
No, it's a lot, but you know what? This is why she's here, because she takes all that stress and overwhelming thought off our shoulders.
We share it. We share it.
Obviously, we take it off our shoulders. But thank you so much. And of course, you know, we've got this coming up every Saturday. Make sure you tune in next week, as well as, we're going to be breaking down some mortgage.
Yes, we're going to be talking about mortgages, what's changed recently, and why, if you've not done that yet, you should get on it.
Ugh,
you know us. We're going to keep it real.
Yeah.
Estate.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Miss Gavin.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Nici.
Yeah, we'll see you next week right
Sounds
here
great.
on WB.